Have you noticed your body feels slower at night? Less response, weaker circulation, restless sleep? Many men tell me, "Doctor, I guess this is just aging," but that belief quietly steals your confidence. I'm a urologist, and I've spent decades helping men over 50 restore energy, blood flow, and performance. Tonight, I want to share something most men completely overlook before bed. One small timing mistake can block everything from working. Tell me where you're watching from. And if this topic speaks to you, consider subscribing. But here's what most people don't realize. Your best circulation work doesn't happen when you're active. It happens when you're asleep. During the day, your body is constantly reacting to stress, movement, meals, temperature, noise. But at night, something remarkable begins. Your nervous system shifts into repair mode. Your blood vessels soften, your hormones rebalance, and your cardiovascular system performs quiet maintenance that most men never think about. Many men believe performance is decided by stimulation, desire, or physical effort. I hear it in my clinic all the time. "Doctor, I feel fine during the day, but mornings just aren't the same." What they don't see is that morning performance is largely a reflection of what happened hours earlier while they were sleeping. Night is when the inner lining of your blood vessels, the delicate endothelial layer, gets restored. Night is when nitric oxide signaling recalibrates. Night is when circulation either improves or quietly declines. Let me explain this in simple terms. Your blood vessels are not rigid pipes. They are living responsive tissue. They expand and relax based on chemical signals. One of the most important of those signals is nitric oxide. Think of nitric oxide as your body's natural vessel relaxer. It tells the smooth muscles surrounding your arteries to loosen. When that happens, blood flows more easily. Oxygen delivery improves. Pressure inside the vessels decreases. Everything becomes more efficient. Now here's where sleep enters the picture. Deep sleep is when nitric oxide activity stabilizes. It's when your vessels spend extended time in a relaxed, open state. This is also when micro-repair occurs, tiny corrections to inflammation, stiffness, and oxidative stress that built up during the day. If sleep is shallow, broken, or chemically disrupted, this repair window shrinks. And when that window shrinks, blood flow quality the next morning often suffers. Men over 50 are especially sensitive to this process. Aging naturally reduces nitric oxide production. Hormone fluctuations affect vessel flexibility. The nervous system becomes more reactive. Even mild sleep disturbances can produce noticeable changes. You may not describe it as circulation, but you feel it. Cold feet under the blanket, restlessness, waking up to urinate, a sense that your body never fully settles. Cold feet, for example, are not just a comfort issue. They can signal reduced peripheral circulation or poor nighttime vascular relaxation. When blood flow to the extremities decreases, your body struggles to maintain warmth. This often coincides with shallow sleep and increased nighttime awakenings. Nighttime urination tells another story. Many men assume it's purely a prostate issue, and yes, the prostate plays a role, but impaired circulation, fluid redistribution, and hormonal signaling also influence how often you wake. When your cardiovascular system doesn't regulate properly at night, fluid shifts can increase bladder pressure. The result? Interrupted sleep, which then further reduces vascular repair. Weak morning firmness is one of the most common concerns men mention, often quietly. What's important to understand is that healthy nighttime blood flow typically produces spontaneous nocturnal vascular activity. This isn't about desire, it's about tissue oxygenation. These natural cycles help maintain elasticity, nerve sensitivity, and vascular responsiveness. When they diminish, it's frequently tied to sleep quality and nitric oxide signaling, not simply age. Fragmented sleep ties everything together. Each awakening pulls your body out of repair mode. Stress hormones rise, vessel relaxation decreases, blood pressure fluctuates. Instead of sustained restoration, your system experiences repeated interruption. Over weeks and months, that pattern compounds. Here's the deeper insight I want you to absorb. Performance does not begin with stimulation. It begins with sleep, blood vessel repair, hormone regulation, nerve recovery. These processes unfold quietly without your awareness, but their effects are unmistakable in how you feel when you wake, your energy, your mental clarity, your physical responsiveness. I've seen men chase solutions in the wrong direction for years. They adjust medications, try stimulants, experiment with daytime supplements, yet they overlook the foundation, nighttime circulation chemistry. If blood vessels never fully relax at night, even the best daytime habits face an uphill battle. Exercise helps, yes. Nutrition helps, absolutely. But without proper overnight repair, progress can feel frustratingly slow. And this is where many men feel discouraged. They assume decline is inevitable, that this is just aging. But aging is not a switch that turns vitality off. It's a shift in how carefully your body must be supported, especially at night when repair is either allowed or blocked. Because improving nighttime blood flow isn't about taking more supplements. It's about choosing the right ones. But here's what most men never hear about vitamin D. It's not just a bone vitamin. That label is far too small. In men over 50, vitamin D behaves much more like a hormone regulator, quietly influencing testosterone, vascular flexibility, immune balance, and even sleep rhythm. And when I explain this to my patients, many are genuinely surprised. Vitamin D helps regulate testosterone and blood vessel flexibility. That single sentence carries enormous weight, because testosterone is not only about libido or muscle mass. It affects energy, mood, motivation, circulation, and vascular responsiveness. And your blood vessels? They depend on precise chemical signaling to stay relaxed and elastic. Let's simplify the biology. Inside your arteries is a thin, sensitive lining called the endothelium. Think of it as the control center of your circulation. It releases nitric oxide, the molecule that tells vessels to widen and soften. Healthy endothelial function means smoother blood flow, better oxygen delivery, and less internal pressure on the vessel walls. Vitamin D plays a key role here. Adequate levels help stabilize endothelial cells, making them more responsive and less inflamed. When vitamin D is low, that lining becomes more vulnerable to irritation and dysfunction. Nitric oxide production can decline. Vessel stiffness can increase. Blood flow efficiency begins to suffer, often without dramatic warning signs. Now, let's connect this to nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is your body's natural vasodilator. It allows arteries to relax, which is essential for circulation, blood pressure regulation, and performance. Vitamin D supports the enzymatic pathways that enable nitric oxide synthesis. In plain language, when vitamin D is sufficient, your vessels are better able to listen to relaxation signals. Then there's testosterone signaling. Vitamin D receptors exist in tissues involved in hormone production and regulation. Research and clinical observation both show that men with low vitamin D frequently exhibit lower testosterone levels, not because the body can't produce testosterone at all, but because the signaling environment is weakened. Restore vitamin D, and the hormonal conversation often improves. Inflammation is another critical piece. Chronic low-grade inflammation increases with age. It contributes to arterial stiffness, endothelial irritation, and reduced vascular elasticity. Vitamin D has anti-inflammatory effects that help calm this background noise. Less inflammation means more flexible vessels, better blood flow, and reduced strain on the cardiovascular system. What does this look like in real life? Men don't walk into my office saying, "My endothelial function feels compromised." They describe sensations, better morning energy, clearer thinking, more stable mood, improved firmness, a sense that sleep feels deeper, more restorative. These are the lived experiences that reflect improved internal chemistry. Better morning energy is one of the earliest changes many men notice. When hormone signaling and vascular function improve, oxygen delivery becomes more efficient. Sleep quality often stabilizes. The body wakes feeling less heavy, less sluggish. Improved firmness is another frequent observation. Again, not because vitamin D is a stimulant, it isn't, but because healthier blood vessels respond more effectively to natural signals. Circulation becomes smoother. Vascular tissues maintain elasticity. Mood stability may surprise you, but it's deeply connected. Vitamin D influences neurotransmitter regulation and inflammatory balance, both of which affect emotional steadiness. Men often report feeling more like themselves, less irritable, less flat. Sleep rhythm is perhaps the most overlooked benefit. Vitamin D interacts with circadian biology, helping regulate sleep-wake cycles. Deficiency has been associated with poorer sleep quality, fragmented rest, and increased fatigue. When levels normalize, sleep often becomes more predictable and restorative. Now, here's an uncomfortable truth. Vitamin D deficiency is extremely common, especially in men over 50. Modern indoor lifestyles drastically reduce sun exposure, your primary natural source of vitamin D. Even men who spend time outside may not produce sufficient amounts because aging skin becomes less efficient at synthesizing vitamin D from sunlight. Geography plays a role, season plays a role, skin pigmentation plays a role. Body fat levels influence storage and availability. Many men assume they're getting enough simply because they feel okay. But blood testing frequently tells a different story. Timing is a question I hear often. Morning or evening? The honest answer is that consistency matters more than perfection. Some men prefer morning because it pairs with other routines. Others tolerate it better with dinner. What's most important is regularity and proper absorption, often aided by taking it with a meal containing fat. And yet, this is where expectations must be grounded. Vitamin D is powerful, but it is not a complete solution by itself. I've seen men correct their vitamin D levels beautifully and still struggle with circulation concerns. Why? Because blood vessel health depends on multiple interacting systems, not a single nutrient. Vitamin D helps create the right environment. It improves signaling, reduces inflammation, supports hormones. But circulation restoration is a layered process, and stopping at vitamin D alone often leads to partial results. And this is where most men get it wrong. They stop at vitamin D. But here's what most men, and honestly, many physicians, rarely discuss. It's not just about how much calcium you absorb. It's about where that calcium ends up. Men often take calcium, vitamin D, even heart medications with good intentions. Yet almost no one stops to ask the critical question, is that calcium strengthening your bones or stiffening your arteries? Vitamin K2 helps keep calcium out of arteries and inside bones. That's its essential role. If vitamin D is the nutrient that increases calcium absorption, vitamin K2 is the guide that directs calcium to the right destinations. Without that guidance, calcium can slowly accumulate in places where it doesn't belong, particularly in the walls of blood vessels. Let me explain this simply. Your body constantly manages calcium. It's not just a bone mineral. It's involved in nerve signaling, muscle contraction, and cellular function. But calcium must be precisely regulated. Too little in bones weakens structure. Too much in arteries reduces flexibility. This is where vitamin K2 becomes vital. One of its key actions is activating a protein called matrix GLA protein, often abbreviated as MGP. Think of MGP as your body's natural defense against arterial calcification. When activated by vitamin K2, MGP helps prevent calcium from depositing into vessel walls. When vitamin K2 is insufficient, that protective mechanism weakens. Over time, unmanaged calcium deposition contributes to arterial calcification. And calcified arteries are less elastic. They don't expand and relax as easily. Blood flow becomes less efficient. Pressure regulation becomes more difficult. Circulation loses its smoothness. Maintaining vessel elasticity is not a cosmetic issue. Flexible arteries respond better to nitric oxide, the molecule responsible for vascular relaxation. They adapt more easily to changes in blood pressure and oxygen demand. They support healthier circulation to critical tissues, including the brain, heart, and pelvic organs. Vitamin K2 supports smoother blood flow by preserving that flexibility. It doesn't boost circulation in a stimulant sense. It protects the physical environment that allows circulation to function properly. In men over 50, this distinction becomes incredibly important. What does this look like in real life? Men describe subtle but meaningful changes, improved circulation, a sense of warmth returning to hands and feet, better endurance during daily activities, less of that heavy, stiff sensation in the legs. Over months and years, these small improvements translate into long-term vascular protection. Better endurance is often one of the first noticeable benefits. When arteries remain flexible, oxygen delivery improves, muscles fatigue less quickly, activities feel less taxing. Many men don't realize how much arterial stiffness was limiting them until it begins to ease. Reduced stiffness sensation is another common observation. This isn't just joint related. Vascular stiffness contributes to that generalized feeling of bodily rigidity, a sense that movement requires more effort. Healthier vessels help restore a smoother internal flow state. Long-term vascular protection may be the most valuable benefit of all. Arterial calcification is a slow, silent process. You don't feel it happening, but its consequences accumulate. Increased cardiovascular risk, reduced circulation efficiency, diminished tissue perfusion. Supporting vitamin K2 helps defend against that gradual decline. Now let's reconnect this to vitamin D. Vitamin D increases calcium absorption from the gut. That's beneficial, especially for bone health, but higher calcium availability without proper direction can create unintended problems. Vitamin K2 works synergistically with vitamin D by activating the proteins that escort calcium into bones and away from arteries. It's a partnership. Vitamin D opens the door, vitamin K2 guides the traffic. When both are present in adequate balance, calcium metabolism becomes far more controlled and beneficial. Why is this especially relevant for men over 50? Because aging shifts calcium dynamics. Bone density naturally declines. Vascular calcification risk increases. Hormonal changes influence mineral regulation. The margin for error narrows. What your body tolerated at 30 may no longer be harmless at 60. Nighttime circulation adds another layer. During sleep, your cardiovascular system enters a restorative phase. Blood pressure typically dips. Vessels should relax. Repair processes activate. Preserving arterial elasticity supports this nightly relaxation cycle. Stiff vessels resist it. Flexible vessels cooperate with it. Yet despite its importance, vitamin K2 remains under-recognized. Many men supplement vitamin D for years without ever hearing about K2. Others consume diets low in K2-rich foods without realizing its absence. The result is often an incomplete strategy for vascular health. And here's the deeper lesson. Choosing the right nutrients is essential, but it's only part of the equation, because even the most beneficial vitamins can produce disappointing results if used incorrectly. But even the right vitamins fail if taken at the wrong time. Now here's the mistake. Most men never connect to their results. They take the right supplements, sometimes even the right doses, yet improvement feels slow, inconsistent, or barely noticeable. In my clinic, I see this pattern again and again. The problem isn't what they're taking, it's when and what they're combining it with. Many men unknowingly sabotage nighttime repair by taking stimulating supplements too late. Anything that activates the nervous system close to bedtime, certain energy blends, high-dose B vitamins, caffeine-containing products, can keep the brain subtly alert. You may still fall asleep, but sleep depth suffers. And without deep sleep, vascular repair, hormone regulation, and nitric oxide balance are all reduced. Then there's alcohol. This is one of the most misunderstood disruptors. A drink in the evening may create a temporary sense of relaxation, even drowsiness. But physiologically, alcohol fragments sleep architecture. It suppresses restorative REM cycles, increases nighttime awakenings, and destabilizes blood pressure regulation. In men over 50, even moderate alcohol can noticeably interfere with nighttime circulation chemistry. Heavy meals before bed create a different kind of conflict. Digestion is an energy-demanding process. Blood flow is redirected toward the gastrointestinal system. Metabolic activity increases, insulin levels rise. Instead of shifting fully into repair mode, your body remains partially engaged in processing food. Your body can't repair circulation if it's busy digesting. That's not an opinion, it's biology. Nighttime is designed for restoration, vessel relaxation, cellular cleanup, hormone recalibration. But when digestion dominates, those processes are delayed or weakened. Let's talk about insulin for a moment. Large or late meals, especially those high in refined carbohydrates, trigger insulin spikes. Elevated insulin late at night can blunt growth hormone release, interfere with fat metabolism, and disrupt the delicate hormonal environment needed for vascular repair and testosterone signaling. Sleep cycles become disrupted in subtle ways. You may not fully wake, but your brain shifts between lighter stages of sleep. Deep, slow wave sleep shortens. This stage is where much of your cardiovascular recovery and nitric oxide stabilization occur. Reduce it consistently, and morning energy, mood, and performance often decline. Here's the reassuring part. This is not about perfection, it's about alignment. Small adjustments in your evening routine can dramatically improve how your body uses the night. A calm pre-bed routine is one of the most powerful corrective tools. Dimming lights, reducing screen exposure, allowing the nervous system to downshift. When stress hormones fall, blood vessels relax more easily, heart rate steadies, sleep depth improves. Proper spacing of supplements also matters. Stimulating compounds are generally better earlier in the day. Nutrients that support relaxation, vascular repair, and hormonal balance may be better tolerated in the evening. The goal is to avoid sending mixed signals to your nervous system. Supporting deep sleep stages is the ultimate objective, because deep sleep is where circulation improves most efficiently. Blood pressure normalizes, nitric oxide signaling stabilizes, tissue oxygenation increases, hormones reset. Night is when performance chemistry resets, not during stimulation, not during exercise, but during sustained, uninterrupted restorative sleep. And yet many men unknowingly create nightly interference. Late snacking, alcohol close to bed, bright screens, erratic supplement timing. Each factor alone may seem small. Together they accumulate into a powerful barrier against progress. What I tell my patients is simple. Respect the night, protect it. Prepare your body for repair instead of stimulation, digestion, or stress activation. Because when sleep quality improves, circulation chemistry often improves with it. When circulation improves, energy follows. Mood stabilizes. Performance becomes more reliable, less effortful. Now here's. When we began, I asked a simple but deeply personal question. Does your body feel slower at night? Less responsive, weaker circulation, restless sleep? For many men, this isn't just a symptom. It's a quiet frustration carried in silence. Something you adapt to, joke about, or dismiss as just getting older. Here's the truth I want you to hear clearly. Your body is not failing, it's adapting. And adaptation is not the same as decline. It's your system responding to changes in hormones, blood vessels, sleep patterns, and recovery signals. Changes that can absolutely be supported. Nighttime is your repair window. While you sleep, blood vessels are meant to relax, hormones recalibrate, nerves recover, circulation chemistry resets. But this only happens efficiently when the environment is right, when your body has what it needs, and when interference is reduced. Provide the proper nutrients, respect timing, protect deep sleep, and something remarkable often occurs. Your system begins to remember. Blood flow becomes smoother, sleep deepens, morning energy steadies, confidence quietly returns. I've watched men in their 50s, 60s, even well into their 70s experience this shift, not through extreme measures or unrealistic promises, but through consistent, intelligent adjustments, small shifts, correct signals, working with the body instead of fighting it. Because performance is never just physical, it's dignity, confidence, the reassurance that your body still responds when you need it to. And once you truly understand this connection, everything begins to feel more within your control again, what most doctors never explain about sleep and blood flow. If this conversation helped you see your body in a new light, I want you to remember something important. You are not alone in this experience. The changes we discussed are shared by millions of men, yet so few speak openly about them. Quiet concerns about circulation, sleep, energy, and performance often stay unspoken, creating the false impression that you're the only one noticing these shifts. This channel exists for a very specific reason, not to sell hype, not to offer miracle claims, but to give men clear, grounded, medically accurate guidance you can actually use. Real science explained simply, real solutions that respect how the male body works after 50, real strategies that support confidence, vitality, and long-term health. If you value that kind of conversation when calm, honest, practical, and consider subscribing, not as a click, but as a decision to stay informed about your body and your future. And if you feel comfortable, tell me where you're watching from. I read your comments, and your questions genuinely shape the topics we explore together. In our next discussion, I'll walk you through a simple nighttime habit that quietly strengthens testosterone signaling and recovery after 60. A small adjustment that many men overlook, yet one that can make a surprising difference over time.